Shabbat Shalom. It's my pleasure to invite tonight to speak to us and to share with us Guy Ronen, who is here representing Achim L'Chaim, Brothers for Life. And we're going to hear more about that mission and about the work that they are doing. I describe this to people, think of the Wounded Warrior Project, but for Israeli soldiers. So that's a way that I try to, try to connect people to what this work really is. You would not know it from his accent, but Guy has actually been here for 30 years, but he still has the full Israeli accent. So we've got the real deal, the real authentic thing. But all joking aside, the work is very serious and it's incredibly necessary. So I don't want to say anything that he's going to say. So I'd just like to invite up Guy. And as our service is over, you can applaud, you can welcome him warmly, and we're so glad that you're here.
I don't have any accent. I don't know what he's talking about. Shalom, everybody. Rabbi Mesler, thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you for having me in here. I will speak for a few minutes, and then if people are interested, we can have some answers, question and answers. So I grew up in Israel, in Kibbutz Hatzor. I served in the Israeli army in the early 90s in an elite unit of the Nachal Brigade that is called Palsar Nachal. And at these times, Israel did not withdraw yet from Gaza and Lebanon, so I served inside Gaza for 3 months at a time, and then going back to Lebanon for another 2 or 3 months inside the Red Line. At these times, we had 10 miles into Lebanon, that was the Green Line, and 20 miles into Lebanon was the Red Line, and we protected the communities in Israel, but also the communities of the Arab Christians and Arab Muslims that lived in these lines and actually supported Israel. After the army, I went and worked in a youth movement for 1.5 years and then came to visit the United States for 6 months. And yes, I'm here after 30 years. I didn't plan it, but it happened. So that's that. During my 20s, I was able to hide my PTSD pretty easily. I was able to function very easily during the day, work, do everything I need. During the nights, it was much harder, and I would wake up a lot with nightmares. I can tell you that time healed, and it's easier after many, many years to just live your life and try not to remember many things. And that's one of the reasons that I was so proud and so excited to join Brothers for Life 3.5 years ago. Brothers for Life was established during the Second Lebanon War in 2006-2007. A group of people from Seattle decided to go and support Israel during the war, and they brought some food and money and went to shelters and to hospitals. They hired an Israeli young man to guide them, and they realized that every time that he goes to the beds of the wounded soldiers, everybody reacts to him differently. And they started asking him why. And the reason was that he was himself wounded a few years before with a bullet in his head. And he would walk into the soldiers' beds and say, "Don't worry, I was just like you, you will be okay." And he would speak to the families about rehabilitation, and he will talk to them about how they can also heal. From that, they created a group of, they took a group of 10 soldiers after the war and brought them to Seattle. And in the end of the week, when they asked them what do they want to do, they said, "We want to continue and we want to help other wounded soldiers." So Brothers for Life was established in 2007, and the whole vision of the organization is that wounded soldiers that are in their healing process will help other wounded soldiers heal and become productive citizens in Israel and do the best they can. Until October 7, Brothers for Life, from 2007 to 2023, had altogether 1,300 members. We started with 20 people, and then 50 people, and then 100 people, and every time we thought that it's going to be very, very difficult to have another 100 people because we're already 300 people, so 400 people will change the organization. But by 2023, we were 1,300 members. October 7 happened, and since October 7th, we absorbed into the organization another 1,200 members, and we are estimating in the next 18 months to absorb another 1,200 members. That means that we will be almost tripling the organization in short 3 years. Since October 7, over 6,000 IDF soldiers have been injured, with 2,400 of them severely to moderately injured. Right now, we are prioritizing, and what we're trying to do is, first of all, accept specific soldiers that are the most needed, the severely injured, and also some groups like women and minorities and people that need financial aid and their family cannot help them before we help others, because we can't accept everybody that is injured at this time. BFL conducted 2,300 unique intake visits in the hospitals and over 20,000 follow-up mentoring visits. So in the beginning, we used to have 2 guys that would go to the hospital and visit all the soldiers. After October 7, obviously we could not have just 2 guys, and 140 wounded soldiers volunteered to be part of this program. And we have them divided into 18 groups, each one of them to a different hospitals, 18 hospitals in Israel, and they go and they visit. They enter the needs of the soldiers and the family into an iPad that goes into the system, and based on that, we provide services. We provide everything you can imagine in the hospital. It doesn't matter if you're a member or not a member. So in the beginning, there was a whole lot of need. We would give and buy wheelchairs and specialized beds and hotel rooms for the families and taxis for people to go back and forth. Right now, Israel is a lot more organized, obviously. So we do a lot less of the immediate needs and a lot more of the understanding of what's the healing that the person will need in the future. I will share a few stories to highlight a few of our programs. We have so many programs, it will take me many hours to explain about all of them, and to respect your time, I will share just a few. So one of them is the prosthetic program under the medical program that we have. So I met Yoram 2 years ago in Florida. Yoram is part of our healing delegation that came to visit and be in a prosthetic clinic in Orlando. So what happened in Israel is that before October 7, we did not have enough people that lost limbs. So we did have prosthetics, but they were not the best in the world. And some of the guys will get these prosthetics, but they will not be able to walk with them, or it will cause them pain. So we would find the guys that need and bring them to the United States and feed them with 3 kinds of prosthetics, one for walking, obviously, one for running, and another one for biking if they wanted to. We will bring them every 3 years because the body change, and with the fact that the body changed, obviously the part that connect to the prosthetic change, so they have to change or adjust the prosthetics every 3 years. It's a process of 3 weeks in the United States, but it changed their life. Yoram told me when he talked to me that he never thought that he will be able to behave and walk and be just like anybody else, and that totally changed his life, and he owes it to the organization. He also shared with me something really interesting that I didn't realize, is that he goes to work every day in a high-tech company, and nobody there knows that he has a prosthetic. He walks with long pants, and he doesn't want anybody to treat him differently, and he doesn't want anybody to know. Many of our guys don't talk about their injuries, physical or mental, with anybody else except of inside the organization, and also that just sometimes they're unable to open up until many years later. 1 out of every 5 Israeli soldiers who have served in combat develop PTSD. PTSD paralyzed the mind and the heart, leaving fighters isolated and in despair, sometimes worse than physical wounds. One of the guys that I met, his name is Yoav, and he served in Tzuk Eitan. Tzuk Eitan was in 2014. 3 young Israelis were kidnapped, and Israel, after looking all over the territories, thought that maybe they were hidden in Gaza, and they entered Gaza. In the end, they found that they killed them way earlier. Yoav was an engineer in the army, a combat engineer, and his job was to take care of bombs and ignitions before the Israelis go into the houses. He was assigned to 8 different units. The assumption was that he will need to help them once in a while, but very, very early into the operation, they realized that every house they went into had different kinds of bombs in it, and they could not go into the houses without him running from one unit to another. He did it for 8 days, until his units were attacked by terrorists or Hamas terrorists from the 3rd floor of an apartment building, and at the same time from a tunnel, they were thrown grenades on them. I'm not going to tell you on Shabbat exactly what he saw, but most of his friends died, including his commander right in front of his eyes. It was a 4-hour battle before they were able to evacuate the bodies and whoever was there. I met with a lot of PTSD injuries and people that were injured with PTSD. He was able to describe it in a way that I never heard before. He said that after he was released from the army, obviously after this operation, and after this operation, he felt like the old Yoav died, and the new Yoav, he doesn't know, but he's still here. Everything he liked to enjoy and he had fun with did not mean anything to him, and he didn't know how to communicate with other people. His brain didn't behave the same way that he wanted it to behave, but he didn't know how to do better. So for 4 years, he was at home with his parents, a guy in his 20s, and he just wanted them to leave him alone. I'm sure, I didn't hear their story, but I'm sure it's complex too. And then somebody told him about Brothers for Life. And in his own words, when he walked into Brothers for Life, it was the first time that he felt like he can belong again to somewhere. He said that it was the first place that not being okay was totally okay, that everybody were broken and it's okay to just be who you are, and you don't need to explain anything. Brothers for Life has around 50 PTSD programs. For the young people in Israel, we do not, for our members, the wounded soldiers, we don't call it PTSD, we call it initiatives. Some of them involve sports, some of them involve all kinds of programs. The idea is to get them out of the house and into a program. So it can be playing soccer, it can be basketball, it can be surfing, it can be making all kinds of learning how to work with wood. But the idea is that they're out of the house, and after they get their energy out, they sit and talk. And these guys, the guys that they meet there, when I talk to the guys, they say, these are my friends for life. These are the only people I trust. These are the only people that I'm willing to share some of what happened to me in the army. So we work a lot with PTSD program. Everybody that is injured most likely also have some kind of PTSD injury. And around 30% of our members before October 7 had PTSD, like their injury was PTSD. We don't know yet what will happen in Israel after this war. We do have people that are getting out of the army right now with PTSD, but usually the trend is that 2 to 4 years after the war, most of the wave of PTSD will come, and it's much bigger than the injuries, the physical injuries. The last program I'll talk about is our educational program. We offer to our members internship programs, university scholarships, job placement. The difference between the university scholarship that we offer and other organizations offer is really the amount of help that we give. Because of the needs of our guys, we talk to the departments in the university and make sure that they receive all the services they need, including sometimes guys with wheelchairs cannot go into certain places because Israel is not all accessible yet, but anything they need. I will tell you that I'm very happy that Yoav was able to finish 4 years of school in finance, and he worked in the finance field and decided after 2 years that he hates his job. So we connected him for one of our programs with a mentor, and after a search and understanding of what he wants to do, he's now a product manager in one of our very large organizations in Israel, and he's much happier. And that's that. I mean, I can talk forever, but I would prefer if you can ask me some questions. I would say that the ramification of war is horrible for anybody involved. The citizens on both sides, the people that fight, the families. But it's also really warm-heartening and amazing to go into the organization and see people smiling and laughing and active and volunteering and doing incredible things with their lives. And we have people that 10 years after their injury are lawyers, are in politics and working in all kinds of areas in Israel. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to take your questions, and I'm going to need to repeat your questions into the microphone, not only so that everybody here can hear them, but we have a significant number of people who are watching online, and I have to say it into a microphone or else they won't hear it. I'm going to have the privilege of the first question because I'm the rabbi, which is, this is just not a story that you hear about. What Israeli soldiers are going through and their wounds, their injuries, and PTSD. This is just not something that makes any headlines here. So I'm curious about if you want to comment on this untold story, and also who supports you? Where do you get your funding from? How does that happen?
So about the untold story. So before October 7, we tried not to be in the newsletters. So yes, my job is to highlight Brothers for Life in New England, and in the end also to raise money for the organization. But in Israel, the guys are very modest, the guys are private, and we had few stories in the newspaper, but in general, we tried not to be out there. We would meet the guys in the hospital. Sorry, it's not just guys. The people, because we do service women, and we have women that are combat fighters that are part of the organization. And by the way, the women said that we should not change the word Brothers for Life, Achim L'Chaim, because in Israel, plural is always the men ending, sorry. So, and they were like, that's how it is in the army, it's totally fine, don't change it, because we did check with them about a lot of things related to programmings and all of that. After October 7, we became a lot more known because we are so present in the hospitals, and because we brought 2 groups of surgeons from the United States. The medical program we have, we have around 50 experts, surgeons in the United States that give second opinions to Israeli surgeons and the soldiers before surgeries. And we brought 2 groups of soldiers from Walter Reed and Ohio State University to do surgeries in Israel that are very complex with Israeli surgeons. And because of that, the VA decided to work with us, and now we are the leading organization to bring surgeons and do second opinions with the United States. So we are much more in the eyes of the public in Israel, not so much in here. About funding, so most of our funding is done by people like you and people all over the United States, actually all over the world, Canada, Australia, giving donations. I will add that after October 7, and because the massive amount of wounded soldiers, the VA decided to take a lot more responsibility to some of the injuries. So for example, we found a clinic in the Emirates, in Dubai, that does prosthetic fingers and we provided fingers to few people. It looks like bionic fingers. I have pictures if you want to see. And now Israel is paying for it, the Ministry of Defense, and sending the guys and not us, including some of the prosthetics that before we paid for and now they're paying for it. So we still connect and do the services in some ways, but our expenses on the medical part is lower. But we did double our amount of people and double the amount that our programming costs in the last year and a half.
So, and I think that's very important that people understand that this is a private organization that's funded privately. You are not part of the Israeli government. This is a separate.
I definitely don't represent the Israeli government.
Right, but that's key to understand that this is like supplementary service, and sometimes it's the main service where there needs to be supplementary service. Okay, so another question.
I wanted to ask you about to talk a little bit about when Israeli soldiers visit families in the United States and some of their experiences and how that's beneficial.
So the question is, can you talk about when Israeli soldiers visit people in the United States and how has that been beneficial? Oh, incidentally, you made reference to the surgeons. I put into Temple Sinai's private members Facebook group a video from the organization, so you can see one surgeon, especially as she is doing pro bono surgeries in Israel, and it's a very short video, but I highly recommend that you follow up and watch that. Okay,
Thank you.
So please.
So we have three reasons that wounded soldiers come to the United States. One I mentioned, it's for surgeries or second opinions or tests. Another reason is to do healing delegations. So we have healing delegations all around the world, including the United States. We bring 10 to 12 guys that are chosen before. I would also say before October 7th, they will be 3 to 5 years after the injury. And right now we are doing 6 to 18 months under injury. So the activities changed. We bring them to a community like Boston. In Boston, it happens once a year. We have 6 families host 12 people, of 2 guys for a family. They stay a week with the family, 7 days. And during the day, they have fun activities and also some kind of group assessments and PTSD conversations. But they do a lot of fun things in Boston. And in the evening, they are with the family, and they eat more in the morning with the family too. Most of the guys, when we do surveys 5 years after or 4 years after they go, they say that it's one of the most remarkable and most changing life experiences that they have. In Israel, we all just another wounded soldier or just another guy that served in the army, guy or woman, sorry, man or woman. In here, we're heroes. People take us to your home. People treat us really nice. The kids are always engaged. It's usually young families. And people really want to hear from them. For many of our soldiers, it's the first time that they will ever tell their story to anybody because it is in English, because it's far away from home and I need to see you only for a week, but then I'm leaving, so you're not going to be in front of me and remember how I told you that story. And because the family is so loving. So that's the second time. And the third time is to come here to do education. And then they come 2 guys for 4 days. And we do events like I'm in here, but with them, and they tell their story. Usually these are people that are already trained and are able to tell their story a few times in 1 week. Sometimes after 2 times, they decide they have enough. That's why we have 2 guys in here. So if they need a break, it's okay.
Other questions from the congregation? Please.
With regard to psychological help, how do you work in sort of group therapy? Do you have psychologists who work with the organization? And how does that arrange with Army services?
So the question is, in terms of psychological help, does the does Achim L'Chaim arrange for group therapy? Do you work with psychologists or therapists? And how does that coincide with the Army services?
So all the above. So first of all, the Ministry of Defense, the VA in Israel, provides services maybe the same as in the United States, maybe a little better, but it's not amazing based on the guys I'm working with. So all of the medical needs come from the VA. So you get your psychologist or psychiatrist or physical therapy, all of that you can get at the VA offices. The problem is that the guys don't want to go there. It feels like a hospital. It is in a hospital building. It smells like a hospital. And people from all wars go there, so it might be different ages, different styles. And we are in a village atmosphere. Our facility is in a kibbutz, so in a village, depends. We have one in the north and one in the south. Sorry, one in the north and one in the center. So people just love coming there. We do have group therapy. We have couple therapy, and I talk to people, specifically the wife, that said that the couple therapy saved their marriages. They go groups of 6 couples and 3 therapists for a long weekend together. And it's very popular. People sign up. A lot of people sign up for that. And we also have these group activities that are not therapy-led, but inside-led by people that were trained how to facilitate groups, but are not therapists. And we also have around 600 spouses that are part of the organization, and they get their own group activities and therapy because we found that the spouses don't have places to vent or to talk, and they don't feel comfortable talking to their friends about their husbands or wives' disabilities. I hope I answered.
Other questions? Please. How did soldiers find out about you, and is it because of your visits, people's visits to the hospitals? Is that how they find out?
So most time, yes. So we go to the hospitals and we visit the injured, but some people have leave the hospitals before we get to them. Specifically in the beginning of the war, and there was so many wounded soldiers and the hospitals were not organized and not everything was written. Now in the hospital, we have a waiting list of 1,400 wounded soldiers that want to join the organization. And the reason they're not members is because you can make them a member by giving them a number, but if we want to really give them all the things that we want to give them, we have to make sure that we do it in a measured way. And we decided that absorbing around 700 people a year, which is 700% more than what we usually do. In the next 2 years, that's the right number for us. To be able to actually, because we do follow-up, and we have a person another wounded soldier that already went through the process, that their job is to mentor them, and we check that they're coming to events and how they're feeling, and if they don't show up for a month, somebody calls them. So we really want to make sure we do the right thing and not just accept numbers. So they hear about us in the army, in the hospital, and right now the hospitals, people are waiting so everybody talks about it, because we're like the best organization that people want to join. There are other organizations that now are starting that helping wounded soldiers. PTSD is complicated. People usually hear about us because some friend told them, or a parent or a spouse talk about the fact that the husband or the wife that is wounded does not go out of the house and suddenly say, did you hear about Brothers for Life? The family I talked about, she said that the counseling saved their marriage. She met somebody that told us about us, and she took him by hand because he refused to go. And after we called 5 times, she took him by hand and told him, you have to go. Because he said, I don't have a problem, I don't want to go.
I'd like to thank Guy for joining us tonight, and a really big thank you for your generosity.
Thank you all.
Thank you for your generosity of your time and sharing this with us. And I'm going to be following up with information sent to the congregation. So if you want to support Brothers for Life, you can do that. And Guy is also, of course, going to stick around for, he told me he doesn't want to get in the way of the cookies. So we're going to now all please join in the atrium where Lily is going to help us with Kiddush and Motzi, and then we'll go to the social hall. Everyone, Shabbat Shalom.